I tell people.
Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast, stories of inspiration, where we talk about mental health, addiction, religion, becoming a business owner and self-sufficient, for what, when, where, and why. Join us and we can be your local hope dealer.
Inspiration and dedication. I came a long way from sleeping in them pages. I got my life back. I feel amazing. Life's a book, don't get stuck on sad pages. Rainy days with no money. Hard work leads to days that are sunny. Looking back, it was all needed. The problems, the pain, the trauma, the grieving. You are now tuned in to the prisoner to painter. Prisoner to painter. Hard work, dedication. Rainy days, inspiration. Prisoner to painter.
And now, a word from your local hope dealer.
Awesome. Welcome to the Prisoner to Painter podcast. I am Nathan McDermott.
And I am Katie McDermott.
And today joining us is Amador Ybarra.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on. Yes, sir. Well, A, thank you for coming on. B, thank you for having the courage to come and tell your story. I think anybody and everybody, some people a little bit more. It takes a lot to come and talk in front of a camera. I know it seems easy, but once you get here, it's like, it's not that easy. So thank you. Katie?
I appreciate it.
Of course.
I blanked.
No, you're good. Normally you got some starting remarks. Man, here we have from childhood to where the guest is now and what their definition of success is. That is like our main principles. So we'll just start in childhood and work to where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite question is what was your favorite cereal growing up?
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch.
Oh yeah.
Just plain old Captain Crunch, or like
Plain old Captain Crunch. It was an absolute treat. When I was younger, we were all cornflakes and Cheerios.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even have any sugar for it. And I'm not a big milk and cereal fan, so
Gotcha.
we ended up with with the Captain Crunch. I really like that.
Awesome.
Peanut butter junkie.
Gotcha. Katie always makes the joke. Do you not like the roof of your mouth? Because that stuff will hurt you.
destroys the roof of my mouth. It's sharp.
I understand.
Man, what was your family dynamic like growing up? And were you born and raised in Jackson?
Born and raised in Jackson County. We moved from Parma to Jackson when I was 2.
Okay.
Grew up in a home with 2 absolutely fantastic parents,
Awesome.
5 siblings, and some extended family. My grandfather lived there until he passed, my father's dad.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a full family home. We had
Mm-hmm.
all the love and all the caring and the roof over our head and the clothes on our back and the food in our stomach. Fantastic. I don't even know how they did it. We were young, one job, one fit. My dad was the only one working till we all started going to school.
So it was like on a shoestring growing up, kind of.
Well, you know what? I'm not even sure. I didn't know. I feel as though I grew up very privileged. I know that we didn't have money, but I know that I didn't do without anything.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go without stuff that mattered.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Me growing up, mind you, one kid compared to 5, but it's like one income in the household could afford the house. Now it's not like that, but back then it's one person working, you were fine or close to fine.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
60s and the 70s. So it was a lot different.
Yeah. What's your favorite memory of childhood?
That's a good question. I think helping my father. Helping him, I probably was more in the way. When I was young, like say 5 to 8, maybe 10,
Yeah.
I was underneath his feet all the time.
Awesome.
Simple as that. My father was and still is my mentor. I can't say, I won't say idol, but he still echoes in my mind when I have, conversations with myself about things, what to do, how to do this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
And so my earliest, or one of my favorite childhood memories are working with my father, helping him, basically getting in his way. Like we built a trailer one time when I was a kid to take a trip out west. We took a trip with the whole family in a Volkswagen van and a custom made. It was a made utility trailer that my father made out of a boat trailer, and I helped him more often. I probably got in his way during that time to do that because I was about 7 or 8 then.
Okay.
And I'm sure that I was helping him. And in my head, I was helping him. But I'm sure that I wasn't.
Were there any early experiences that shaped your sense of community involvement?
Earliest? Ask that question again.
Is there any early experiences that led to your sense of community involvement?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that our parents did when we were going to elementary school that's not even here in Jackson anymore, it's called Austin Blair Elementary School. It was named after the governor from Jackson that was of Michigan, Austin Blair, and he was around during the 1800s, and I believe that he was very civil rights minded. He was very he was involved in human rights. He was very controversial at the time. But I went to that school, Austin Blair. It was on Cooper Street over by Porter. It's not there anymore.
Okay.
There's apartment complexes there.
Like by Blair Park,
Yes.
which is why
That's why it's named Blair Park.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So the principal of that school when I was going there was a black guy by the name of Mr. Ward.
Okay.
And I'm trying to look up this information. I'm not so sure that he's not the first black principal, at least in this area, because this was probably, I mean, I'll bet it was before 1970.
Okay.
And my parents invited him to our house for dinner. I don't know why, and we never knew why, and there was always a different contention between, not a contention, but a discussion between my siblings, why they did that. I think he did it because the guy was the first black principal in the community, but I don't know that for sure. And that's just my dad. My sisters, who are really super smart and have doctorates and stuff, they all say that he did it because he wanted to see how a poor family with 6 kids could have such smart kids. Because we were all pretty smart. Yeah. But that's just because we had 2 sets of encyclopedias. We had all kinds of learning games that we played. There was, it was always, it was our house was a learning house.
Cool.
My first word that I said in the crib was book.
Wow.
I guess the story my mom told was we're all sitting around and everybody's reading a book, and I stand up in the crib and say book, ask for a book. So that's kind of crazy,
man.
But so I think I got off track.
Oh no, you're fine. You are fine.
How did going?
Community involvement. Okay, so that's my father. My mom. We're driving one time in one of those Volkswagen vans up a street. I'm not gonna. It's on the north side of town. We saw some kids playing in the yard playing football, and one of them got hurt really bad, like broke their arm. Damn. My mom stopped and wrapped the kid's arm, put a splint on it before his mom showed up to take him to the hospital. Wow. Just cold stop. She saw the kid hurt, needed help. So she stopped and helped the kid, and then we went about our way after his mom showed up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. That trip I was talking about, we went out west. We stopped and picked up a hitchhiker in the community or on the highway. This was a guy dressed in a pinstripe 3-piece suit with a derby on, like a bowler hat, and beard, mustache, looked kind of fancy. We stopped and picked him up. I don't know where we were or where we gave him a ride to, but he's got a family full of 6 kids in a van, and we picked this hitchhiker up. So those kind of things. And my mom always worked with March of Dimes.
So it sounds like from a long time you've been a part of the community. It seems like awesome.
I didn't realize it until I was talking about being here and thinking about how I got to where I am, and I realized that if you just articulate everything that I've gone through in my life, it would be like a natural progression to be where I am, all the way, including not only my involvement with the local political party, but also with my involvement in what we discussed earlier, as far as like being able to bring communities together across ideas. So that if we disagree with something, we can still talk to each other.
Well, community is exactly that. It's a community. It's not this side and that side of the community. It's a community. That's like,
what were some of your interests or passions growing up?
I like to fix broken things. I mean, I learned how to, early on, I got a junk mini bike. I learned how to fix that and get it running. I've, I like to do that. I like to, work on stuff. I probably from early on, I wanted to be I don't know how I got away from it, but I wanted to restore old cars.
Yeah.
It's actually that's probably was my 5-year-old. What I wanted to do was restore old cars, and that just never happened. But it's not like I miss it, or it's not like there's a regret or anything with it. It just didn't happen that way. That's what the 5-year-old said.
This is probably, and I am always appreciative. This is probably one of my favorite interviews already. You are your smile. You're a great guy. I asked earlier what your favorite childhood memory is. Always on the reverse side here, we always ask, what is your least favorite childhood memory?
Probably my least favorite childhood memory. I was in school, so I must have been kindergarten, first grade, but in the neighborhood we all walked together to school. Okay, this neighborhood was on the north side. In our neighborhood, solid 4 blocks. Number one, if you got caught cutting up in the neighborhood, you were in trouble with the nearest parent. They were calling your mom.
Yeah.
So you got scolded by them, and then you got in trouble when you got home. Yeah. So, but on to answer your question, we used to walk to school. So it would be like you'd start at your house and start walking, and it'd almost be like a show, like a movie, because the kids would be coming from their house or their street or their part of the block.
Yeah, going on.
And then, we'd be all joining them. So it's a long group of kids, and maybe like 20, 30 kids at the time. Maybe not that many, but it seemed like that.
Yeah.
But my worst memory is walking. I think we were walking back from school one day. It was in the winter because I had a stocking cap on, and I was young enough that there's a dog, a big St. Bernard dog, that was in a house on the corner, and it was on a chain, but the chain was just a little bit too long and it could reach into the sidewalk. And there must have been some other kids. I think there were some other kids that maybe have been teasing it, but I'm not sure. But the dog snatched me off the sidewalk and brought me into the yard to play with me. The dog was only playing, but it scratched like my head somewhere, and it took my stocking cap. And so I got away from the dog. I don't know how. This is how young I was. And I was walking to I was on my way home, and a neighbor, a woman that is in the neighborhood, stopped. She saw what happened, or she saw me, and she stopped and offered me a ride home. She knew me, and I was familiar. I knew that she was in the neighborhood, and I was only like 2 blocks away, but she gave me a ride home to make sure that I got home.
Gotcha.
But it took me a long time to get over a fear of dogs after that.
I was just going to ask, you still have a fear of dogs?
No, I did for a long time. I don't even know when I realized. Well, when I realized that I had the fear, I realized that I had to do something about it.
Gotcha.
And so I just made sure, because I've had dogs. I've had dogs since then, before that and since then.
Gotcha. Right on. Katie?
I'm looking at my question. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, it's just you wrote down a bunch of. I told you we do our research, but I asked the main questions that I ask everybody. She's the. I don't know. We work well off of each other. Great.
So it sounds like your parents were big influences in your life. Did you have any other mentors or role models that influenced the path that you chose?
Influenced the path that I chose. I don't know. I mean, probably the 2 strongest role models and mentors would be my parents.
Okay.
I've had through the years, I've had mentors in different areas, different arenas, like in my job, in my career. I had some really good, solid mentors. Most of them probably would appreciate me not mentioning their names. I'm not sure about that, and that's one of those things that I would have asked first.
Right. Yeah. No, you're good. You are good.
But I think that I don't necessarily know of any specific mentors that would have been as powerful or as impactful or as helpful in my growing up and being who I am today than my parents.
Awesome.
I really don't.
So before we move into school, we run this about an hour and a half, never rushing. If we go 2-3 hours, I could be here all day, but that's why I try to put but I'm saying that before we move into our questions about school, is there anything you want to share about childhood? Is there anything maybe you were thinking on the way over here, because you know how we ask our questions? Is there anything you wanted to share about that part of your life?
Not particularly.
Okay.
I will say that, like I said, I talked about our neighborhood, how it was that you felt as though there was a community, that you knew all the parents, you knew all the families, you knew all the, there was a huge group. We still actually communicate with each other from time to time on social media, and there's still a lot of people that are still around that grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in, and still kind of feel that connection to it. There was different families and different people in that neighborhood where we would get like, we had a family. This guy would make homemade kielbasa every Christmas.
Awesome.
This one particular guy, and he would take it around and give it to the families for Christmas, that kind of thing. There was another guy that used to fish all the time, and if you went and helped him clean his fish, he would give you some, and he would take you fishing. And those kind of things were just community things that were.
That's how I know I'm from the wrong time frame or the wrong time era. Every time around hunting season, all of my neighbors get deer meat. It's like, I am that guy you're talking about. I'm that person. I was raised in the wrong generation, I feel like. Man, so schooling, it sounds like you were pretty educated, but just our basic questions about schooling. Did you have a normal high school experience? Did you go to prom, sports? Like what do you rate it normal?
I think that I had a normal high school experience. I, met and made new friends that are still friends today from high school. I went to Jackson High School, graduated, and I thought that it was a fantastic educational experience. Like I said, I have some friends that are still friends from high school. It was unique in that I felt as though, because I lived on the north side, kind of the northeast side of Jackson, and so the most of the cool kids, if you will, were from the west side, and so there was a little bit of, I felt a little bit of self-consciousness because of the different dynamic, the different economic dynamic of some of the people that, some of the people that were more prominent and or popular or more forthcoming and confident in their schooling at high school were more the people that were kind of like, you felt like you were economically excluded from them, but they weren't, and they were all just the same kids as you were, and it turned out to be something that really wasn't that bad. Yeah. I appreciated high school. I thought that I had a lot of fun. Awesome. I was in band for a little bit until I couldn't be in band anymore because I had a little run-in with one of the band directors. Okay. And that's all I got to say about that.
Gotcha. What instrument?
Yeah, what did you play?
I played a bassoon.
Okay.
Of all things.
Okay.
So I went to Northeast Middle School. It was a junior high then.
Okay.
It's Northeast Elementary was a junior high when I went there, and when they, like in fifth grade, maybe or sixth grade, they started. You could pick an instrument to play in band, and so what they did was they asked you in alphabetical order. With my last name being a Y, I got to the bassoon. I wanted to learn how to play the saxophone. Okay, but I got to bassoon.
That's funny.
Bassoon is a very difficult instrument to play. Yeah. In case you don't know, it's very difficult. You have to practice, and I never was able to put that together. So, but anyway, and I wasn't involved in sports at all. Okay. I've always been a fat kid pretty much, except for, a brief stretch in the early to mid 80s right in there. I call those the blurry years. You know what that means.
Yeah. Oh yes, 100%. Oh, yeah. I love how you mentioned the last name, your last name starting with a Y, and that was like you were like usually last. My maiden name was a W, so I totally get that. I was always last for anything that was alphabetical.
I think that as a kid, that'll help you to develop some patience, some inherent patience, internalized. Yep. Because I know that I've got to wait until they get to my name in the alphabet to do that, and I just have to accept that there's going to be something good left. Yeah. You have to almost rely on the person that's doing whatever you're doing alphabetically, that they're making sure that it's the same. But anyway, so bassoon. No sports in high school. I played football for a little bit when I was probably a preteen or so, like the rec league football. Yeah. I played for one season, I think. And I had fun doing it, but the coaches were too mean for me. Mm-hmm. The one sport that I did like, that I did excel at for a little bit, that was super fun, was judo. When one of the things that we did, the benefits and privilege of growing up in Jackson is that we had membership to the Y. Mm-hmm. So we learned how to swim. 6 kids. We all learned how to swim at the Y. Awesome. I have a couple different siblings that are certified lifeguards forever. They've been lifeguards. But I also played judo there, and it was cool because the sensei was a guy that was a student at Spring Arbor College at the time from Japan. So he was first generation Japanese, and he was awesome. He was really tough, but he was awesome. And I actually, as like probably 10 years old, I competed in the Michigan Regional Junior Olympics.
Wow.
And in judo, and in my weight class, I won 3rd place.
Heck yeah.
Okay, but I'll tell you that there were only four of us in that weight class.
Wow.
So I defeated one guy. You know, but
That's still cool.
But
That's
still,
cool.
it was a little medal. You know, little 3rd place medal. It was kind of fun, but that was really super fun doing that. And then proms, no, I'm not so much of a prom person.
Gotcha.
And you know, like high school dances, yeah, all those.
You know,
not the prom thing.
There's one thing you just said right there that really hit. We never compare, we only relate. So that's one huge thing that we also live by too. I don't know why, but that made me like double, triple, quadruple hear it. Some coaches were just mean for no reason. And like when I was growing up, it was like the same thing. It was like, well, you don't have to be so mean. Like why do you have to take out that much aggression on children to begin with? But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to say that I had similar experiences growing up. My mom and dad were the coach, and that was fine, of course. One time though, my dad, we were late, and then I had to run laps because I was late, and I was like, "You're the coach. You made me late."
Right.
But that was funny. But no. But besides that, it was like I had one coach, and he was an absolute a-hole, and I didn't play sports after that. Like he really
Rubbed you the wrong way.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So I've had similar experiences, I guess is what I'm saying. So. But back in school, favorite subject? Because you seem like history, but I'm going out on a limb.
It's going to be history. I was thinking.
Gotcha.
I was thinking it's either history or geology.
Nice.
And the reason why geology is because we had a fantastic teacher by the name of Mr. Fisher, and he taught at the junior high when I was there, and then went to the high school when I went there. So it was fantastic. And he taught a earth sciences class that was fantastic. He had all kinds of reptiles in his room. He used to do he used to milk them to send to the labs to make antivenoms.
No kidding.
Yeah, he had poisonous snakes in his room, and he used to milk them.
Oh,
Yeah, for real.
That's super cool.
For real. And I was such a teacher's pet that he used to let me be in the room while he was milking them.
Okay.
I had to clean the cages or the terrariums for him while he was doing it, but still, you know, it was
It's the coolest thing.
child
to see.
labor.
Child
It's the
labor.
coolest
But
thing
this
to
guy
see
was a
when they
super
do
good.
that.
This guy was a super good guy. He was a fantastic teacher.
Awesome.
He really had a positive impact. And history is going to be more than history. I say history because in high school that's pretty much how they taught it.
Yep.
They even teach it now, but civics.
It all goes
So
together.
so when in junior high we had a teacher by the name of Mr. Tibbetts, who was a fantastic teacher. He taught civics, and not only did he teach us, like one of the things that we did, and we're talking about 7th, 8th graders, right? So he taught us, we were required to memorize the preamble to the Constitution.
Okay.
But he also taught us what that meant. Not what that meant to him, not what that meant to someone else, but figure out what it means to you. Describe how. So he gave us an assignment of how to, you know, not only to memorize it, but be able to give a report on what those things meant to me. And that's, I think, was important. And that laid the groundwork for kind of how I am on civics today. That it's important that we all engage. So when he did that, and then he went to the high school and taught those classes too. So it is history, but it's more along the lines of civic engagement in the application of the knowledge of that history.
Dude, I think a lot of people could learn a lot from you. Katie, before we move on, did you go to college after that?
I only went for, well, yeah, let me tell you the truth. The real deal is, yeah, I started right after high school.
Okay.
So I started right after high school, paying for it myself. Okay, just got my first real world grown up person job.
Okay. And what was that, if you don't mind my asking?
That was as a material handler working for a company called Dawson Food Products.
Oh, awesome.
At the time, it was called Dorothy Dawson Food Products.
Awesome.
Great family, nice people, super great. They gave me the opportunity at 18 years old.
Cool.
You know, kid that didn't know anything. They let me have an opportunity to learn something. And
cool.
And had I not goofed that up when I was, you know, a little bit older than that, I worked there for a few years, but then I goofed it up because blurry ears. And so, but I probably would have been, because I'm all about taking the opportunities that I have, right?
Yeah.
Shoot the shot you're given.
Yes.
And so I probably would have steered in a different path because I've always applied myself to what I was doing. After that, now, had I not goofed it
I
off
like that.
and caused them to realize that they didn't want me working for them anymore,
Mhm.
I probably would have been like involved in marketing or sales or something in that company, because I had been speaking with the owner, and he was interested in if I wanted to commit to going to school to learn that stuff, he would have done it.
Awesome.
But I just couldn't bring myself to work some Monday mornings or
Yeah.
some Thursday mornings or some
Mhm.
or be late.
Yeah, I get it.
Whatever.
I get it. I get it.
Simple partying too much.
Mhm.
But that was so that was my first job. What did we segue from? What did we? There was something else.
Oh, sorry. You went to college for a
Yeah.
short
Okay.
time.
So what happened is I got that job, and I'm starting that job, and I started taking classes at the college, and I made it till about October and realized that I'm not making it to these classes. I'm not doing the work in them. I ended up auditing them and just withdrawing from the classes, and
Okay.
I didn't go back for a couple of years. But I never completed any other degree after high school. I've taken
Okay.
classes, and I probably, if I counted them, I probably have enough college classes through both different like the different core classes they have, and then also the correction certificate classes and some different psychology classes that I've taken over the years.
Okay.
That probably would have amounted to some kind of an associate's degree certificate, but it's to me, I'm surprised I didn't do it now, looking back, that I didn't complete a college degree, at least an undergrad degree, and that's only because that's my dad in my head. Go to school, get your degree.
Yeah.
But I never did.
You just seem so damn educated. Pardon my mouth. You just seem so dang educated that it just seems like you have one. And not that it matters. I just assumed, I guess. But you know what they say
and
about
quite
that.
frankly, it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter at all.
Exactly. No. Katie, give you a chance to.
You said that you were a prison guard.
Yeah. So yes, I started I started in the early '90s.
Okay. When did this come? I apologize. So you're working at Dawson Food, and then you leave college. When does prison guard come in?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let me paint the whole. I'm glad you asked that question that way because I want to paint the whole picture, because it's a large part of who I am and how I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Then that's
I really have strong ties to Jackson. I really think that I'm proud of being a Jackson native. I'm proud of growing up here. Had great life experiences here, and I think that we have to continue to do better and to improve the life experiences in Jackson.
Yes, sir.
I literally grew up almost in the shadow of the old prison. I mean, that's where I lived on the north side.
Okay.
I live in the next block from where the old prison is.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Not only that, but I'm also third generation correctional employee. My grandfather on my mother's side retired from there. He was a farmer and worked third shift in the prison.
Okay.
Out on Cooper Street. My father retired after 30 years.
A farmer in work third shift. That dude was a worker,
Yeah,
man.
it was for real. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And so my father also worked there.
Okay.
And so from the earliest onset, I can remember I'm not working there. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna find something else to do, right?
Yep.
I just didn't want to. For whatever reason, I just didn't want to. And never thought that I would. And then basically, you get married, started having kids. I got 2 adult children of my own. Of course, they're adults.
You never know.
I mean, really?
Yeah, I know.
You
Yeah, you know. But anyway, my 2 wonderful grown children are fantastic, and so it was time for me to get away from working, the little shop jobs in the local shops, because you got to remember, in the 70s, all the industry that was here in Jackson, all those big plants and big factories, gone. They were gone because they were allowed to be deunionized somewhere else, and so they didn't have a labor force that was union represented, and so they moved. They could move to another state and be able to pay their employees. There was less for them to do business. It cost less, and it essentially pulled the rug out from underneath a whole entire community.
Yeah.
Here.
Yep.
So there were little bitty jobs, supporting jobs around, and there's still some that have stayed over the years, but most of them are gone. So back and forth between small construction jobs and shop jobs. I early on learned how to do construction because my first actual job that wasn't on any record at all was I was 13 working for a couple guys that were buying condemned houses in Jackson, renovating them, and then flipping them.
Mhm.
So I learned how to do mudding, drywall, tape, which I hate.
Yep.
The mudding part, paint, wiring, rough carpentry. I learned those things at 13.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of cool.
Mhm.
But then I realized that I needed something with some stability and some insurance and a future, some room for growth. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and get in the Department of Corrections. After I had failed miserably twice to get in the state police.
Okay.
Because I tried to do that,
Mhm.
and that just didn't happen. The first time, I didn't pass the physical agility test. The second time, I did, but my eyes weren't correctable enough to make the standards.
Okay.
And so I ended up going in the Department of Corrections. And at the time, I got held up with a hiring freeze. But anyway, so I chose that because of the security of it, the job security, the insurance benefits, and a pension,
Mhm.
which is great.
Thank you for saying that. By the way, here I feel like what we get a lot of, and there's nothing wrong with this because me and Katie are probably guilty of it in our episodes. Here we get a lot of, this is what I did because or whatever, and we go down this path. It was very refreshing to hear. I tried this and it didn't work, so I went with this. That we don't get a lot of that. Normally, we just get the story and we don't get the what I failed at. Thank you for sharing that. Seriously, thank you. And then I have one more question before we move on, or not move on, before we keep going. You said it's very important to keep doing. I forgot the word you just used about in the community. Me and you talk about it over coffee about how you get an education here and you're supposed to come back here to give back to the community.
And I wouldn't say supposed to, but it's nice to be able to create an environment where we can encourage people that grow up in community and then get their education, maybe go off to college or a vocational school or some kind of training, join the military, whatever, and then decide that when they're getting ready to transition to something else, to move forward in their life, they choose to come back here and start their family or start a career or do whatever. And regardless of what that is, it's great to have people that have roots in Jackson to come back to Jackson.
Yes, sir.
So in order to increase that and appreciate that, we have to make sure that we're reaching out to people that are in those positions now. The young people that are saying, I'm in high school right now, I'm getting ready to learn this, that, and the other thing. I want to go off to college, but then I want to I want to do this. Am I going to come back and do this here? So one of the things that in community, I think that we are working toward improving all the time. And it's not been bad, but it's getting better, is to engage people, to show them that, to buy into your future. So as a young person, if the young people that are in high school right now, they have the opportunity to complete high school in Jackson County, get 2 years of college at Jackson College. Okay, I believe that's something that they can do without too much expense. And so that's important to do because then they see that buy-in and then they come back.
Yes.
I mean, there are people that, and I'm not going to name names, but there are people that I know that are young people that are just coming back to the community that are engaged in a very active way to help improve those things. That are coming back just because of that, because they received some buy-in and some confidence and some help to get their education, and now they're paying it forward by coming back. And those are the kind of things that we have to do.
I've been taught the only way to keep it is to give it away. And I've been taught that from a bunch of different, I mean, a lot of things reinforce that. That's what we're trying to do. So you become a prison guard. You were there for years, it sounds like. What is, these are my favorite types of questions, but it's probably not great. What was your best experience in prison? I know that's why as a guard. That's why I chuckle a little bit because, there's probably
Best experience. That's a tough one because it's hard to. It's hard to actually equate that with the best. But I was fairly well involved in managing particularly sensitive situations that had the capacity to go bad. I seem to always find myself in those spaces. Not so much as an officer, which I only worked for 5 years and then I promoted.
Okay.
I promoted to sergeant and then as lieutenant. Also, I was involved in the things that were the hard parts, the dirty parts of not dirty, the difficult parts, the challenges of managing the environment effectively with when things go bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I had to be involved in that. So those things, the good things, which I can't really articulate specifically, but those things are when you're faced with an adverse situation that can really go bad, or it already is bad,
Yep.
and you're entering into it to try to resolve it, and then everything comes out okay, and no one gets hurt, and no one gets away.
Yep.
It's a big deal.
I can only imagine.
I mean, we actually there was I was working the day that we had someone try to go over the fence at a prison, and that we stopped that we prevented that felt good.
Yeah.
That was definitely a good thing because we protected the public.
Yeah.
But also there are other things like something like as simple as I realized early on that when our soldiers came back from Vietnam, they got spit on instead of welcomed home as heroes.
Yeah.
So from an early age, I would always, if I ran across someone who was a Vietnam vet or is a Vietnam vet, I welcomed them home. Can you imagine on Veterans Day doing that the first time when I'm working in a correctional facility? As a young officer, run across someone who has a Vietnam vet hand on it. So I said, I see you were a Vietnam vet. Welcome home. The guy started crying because he told me, he said, I never heard that before. No one ever told me that before. So that, I mean, that's not why I told him that. I didn't tell him that to make him feel a certain way, except welcome.
Mhm.
Because it really was. And the reason why that story rings to me even today, I can't go past someone in the supermarket with a Vietnam vet hat on without welcoming them home.
Yep.
Because when they were coming back, when our soldiers were coming back from Vietnam, I'm sitting at my dad's foot watching the news the night they're coming back. I'm seeing protesters spitting on them.
Mhm.
I asked my dad, why are they spitting on them and not welcoming them home? And he explained to me that the people that were protesting were led to believe that the people that were coming back were doing something that was they were confusing the soldiers with the decision makers.
Mhm.
Okay, so what happened is the people that wanted the war to continue were trying to guide the people to be mad at each other. It's that divide.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what it is. It's the divide was created between protesters and soldiers.
Yep.
The soldiers were forced to go. You got your numbers up. You got to go. Sorry to tell you about your bad luck.
Yep.
That's horrible.
Yep.
And then made to go do that, and then taught that you either kill or be killed, and then to go over there and do that, and then come back and be disrespected in the manner that they were. I mean, they gave what they thought was their all. And then they were only taught how to, they were, the military does what the military does to people. And some people don't always come back from the military the same way they went, right?
Mhm.
So the ideology of you're going into this war zone, you got to kill, and then you come back and now you get mistreated for doing what we sent you to do.
Yeah.
And so that was tough, and so that's why I always thank people. But it's just unfortunate that happened that way.
Mhm.
What was the hardest? Was there anybody who really got under your skin there? Not in a bad way. Like is there an inmate that I guess maybe you hold closer to your heart than others? Like maybe a guy that's been there
Anybody that-
30 years, the whole time you've been there. I don't.
Someone that left an impression on you, maybe.
I did. There was a guy early on, and this was a guy that was a Vietnam vet,
Okay.
and he actually, as a form of his, because he went as 18, came back at whatever 19 or 20. He didn't learn how to do anything except, be a soldier, be a warrior,
Yep.
and in the face of conflict resolution in society, in civilian life, he was faced with a situation where he felt as though he had to take someone's life.
Mhm.
Did it, was incarcerated for it. But this guy, actually, and I won't tell you the whole story about how I found out about it, but because it's pretty, I don't want to.
Yep.
He actually worked in the factory at the facility where I worked, and he he contributed to an orphanage. He had adopted an orphan in a third world country, not necessarily third world, in a Central American country, I believe,
Okay.
or South American country. But it was a orphan program that you can do. You've seen them in the back of magazines that used to have them, where you could, But this guy would contribute $19 a month of his inmate pay.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, they're making a couple $100 a month probably in the factory, which is top inmate pay. But he was contributing that. So he was that, to me, what that tells me is that he's a person that cares about other people. So it was important.
Yeah. God, that sounds like an important experience that you had. I mean,
well,
really,
what it did was it made it glaringly obvious that people are people, and regardless of the situation, it doesn't matter how you ended up being in any situation, is that you're still a person, and that whatever you did doesn't have to be the sum total of who you are, or what you're going to do in the future.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I mean, that's kind of why we're here, right?
Yeah, that's literally why we're here.
That's literally.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long were you a prison guard, and did you retire?
I did retire. I had 27 years.
Awesome.
So I was only a correction officer for 5 years.
Okay.
And then I promoted.
Right.
I promoted to sergeant, and then promoted to lieutenant.
Okay.
After they had tried to fire me once, and then actually fired me once. Okay. And then I got my job back. But
how does working up in the ranks work? Is it a political thing, or that's not the right word?
Is it like a rank thing? Like
yes.
Okay.
Like, so you were a correctional officer more than you were like a guard. So
yeah, so that's
ranks
just the
change?
terminology that prison guard, the correction system doesn't really use prison guard too much anymore.
Right.
Gotcha.
Most people that aren't familiar with it, I get it. It's not, to me, it's not any kind of a derogatory statement or insult. Yeah. But some people get a little bit sensitive about it. That's why I use correction officer, because some people don't. But the rank structure would be an officer, and they used to be, well, it would be an officer, then a sergeant, then a lieutenant, and a captain.
Okay.
And that's the order of the progression.
Okay. So you worked your way up into being a bigwig, right?
Well,
it's kind of how that.
Yeah, I mean, at least I wouldn't say bigwig. It reminds me of well, you're still responsible for a lot. You know what I mean? As a lieutenant, you're assistant shift commander, so you're responsible for a lot of things that go on. Okay. Sometimes people have been even held responsible for something that happened when they weren't there. Gotcha. I wasn't one of those, but I know of one particularly that it turned out okay, but it might not have. So political, I don't know whether it's political or, I mean, you could say it would be. I don't think that it's political in the sense that there's a dynamic of people that in the power structure that are making a decision to appoint people or award them promotions. Gotcha. They have to be trustworthy. You have to trust. They have to be able to be confident that they can trust you to do what you're doing. Yep. And so it's political in that nature, that you have to be able to show and demonstrate that you're willing to do what they need you to do in order for them to give you the shot. Gotcha.
I guess more so what my question was, you said you were a correctional officer for only 5 years. So then what did you do when you started ranking up? Were you more in command, like taking care of all the other COs?
Well, you're a supervisor. So as a sergeant, you're supervising some officers. Okay. And then as a lieutenant, you're supervising the sergeant and the officers.
I see.
So yeah, it's a little bit more of a different perspective of it.
Less on the floor, more in command.
But the nature of correction facilities is that regardless of your position or your rank as a custody employee, you're going to be involved in the situation. You're going to be on the ground. Gotcha. You're going to be on the yard, in the chow hall, in the housing units. You're going to be on the compound. Okay. You're not necessarily going to be, no matter what your rank, you're not going to be sitting at a desk somewhere. Gotcha.
Yep. Wow. So I know you got a long story, so we're gonna run this one a little longer anyways. but I don't want to miss anything important. Now, mind you, I know you can't cram a bunch. I know you can't cram a life like yours into an hour. I'm aware of that, but I don't want to miss nothing that's important. And I feel like I'm going to no matter what. But so you were a prison guard for 27 years. Is there anything that you want to share about this before we get into what you're doing now? Because I feel like there's a lot to talk about what you're doing now. You're doing a bunch. I guess I just said all that to say, is there any particular story that when you were working at the prison that stands out that you want to share? Is there anything like, yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah. I'll share it. Not only am I just impacted by basically growing up in the shadow of the old prison and then being third generation correctional employee with my grandfather and my father. I didn't know my grandfather at all, but regardless, it still has an impact.
Yeah.
But then also later on, as I was working shortly before I retired, I ended up with a family member incarcerated. A family member that I would want to engage with, to be able to phone call, send letters, be able to help with their commissary. And so I had to walk that tightrope, being a lieutenant who had actually been a lieutenant, mind you, who had already been fired once and made them give me my job back.
Gotcha.
Then I had to manage that delicate balance of knowing that they probably were always looking at me to try to get back at me.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, I made them change civil service rules when they did what they did. So, but then having a family member incarcerated and having to walk through all that, I mean, you know, I walked the tightrope and was able to, you know, participate, take phone calls, go visit, all that stuff.
So it's like mitigating the conflict of interest. Like you had a
That's
family
impressive.
member at your job, so there was like a conflictual like barrier that you had to navigate and remain
it's not really a
professional.
conflict, and it's not. I wasn't the first one, nor will I be the last. And it happens. It's happened since since there've been correctional facilities, since there've been prisons.
For sure.
It
For
happens.
sure. Yeah.
Okay, and so fortunately they have a process where you can still be able to engage with someone who is incarcerated that you want to, and still keep your job. I did it. I'm an example of that, and that's kind of a survival thing, because it's a survivor thing to be able to do it, because they don't necessarily make it easy all the time, and they're always watching you. You know, I know that every single one of my phone conversations ever with the individual was certainly recorded.
My question more so, or my interest here is not that more people have done it. How was that for you emotionally, and how did you recharge your batteries from that? Because that had to take a lot out of you.
It probably did. I'd say that it was stressful. I think emotionally, I was always confident that my family member was going to be solid, was going to survive through that. And so it was actually, I mean, there wasn't.
I guess I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
There's always a concern. I don't think that it really. I don't remember any time when it really. I mean, I didn't like it at all. Not one bit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that I was fairly confident that everything was going to be okay, but you know. To decompress, really, I don't know that there's a way that you can decompress from that. Me, if I don't like something, I tend to try to fix it. You know, so if there's a situation which nothing came up, so it was actually manageable. But I don't remember really anything where I felt so stressed that it was incapacitating
Right.
or debilitating.
Gotcha.
It didn't overwhelm me, which was fortunate.
Okay.
Okay, so what was the thing that inspired you to get involved into like more of a role in the community or the political organizing aspect of things after retiring?
Okay, so I retired in 2019.
Yep. And then I'm going to add just a little bit on to that. Was there anything from your prison days that made you go that route, like what she asked? Is there anything from when you worked at the prison?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly. If I don't want to forget your part of the question because you're asking about how did I get started doing this political action stuff?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And you're asking if there was anything to do with the
Prison going into that.
That
Original city.
contributed to that.
yes,
decision.
and there was, and there's a specific story I'll tell you about. It was
Awesome.
a person that so one of the roles that my dad had when he was working for the department was he was one of the initial probation officers, parole officers that started the resident home program.
Okay.
When people were reintegrated into society from incarceration, they would go to like a halfway house, they call
Yeah.
it that.
Yep.
And he was the parole agent that oversaw those. So he was responsible to make sure that they were in compliance all the time and, went to their work, went to their job, took care of their business and got moving forward in, re-entering society.
Gotcha.
And it was years after that system was already in place and he was already, I'm sure he was retired by then, but there was a particular person that I ran into that was incarcerated that knew him, number one,
Mhm.
but it was when the system went to zero tolerance.
Okay.
So this particular story, the guy was at work and he normally got a ride back to the center from work by his boss. His boss got mandatory to work the next shift. And so his boss called the center to say, this guy's got to walk back to the center because I can't give him a ride and he's going to be late. And they said, okay, that's cool. We'll waive him. It's not going to be a big deal because they had zero tolerance at the time where if you weren't back within compliance, you were gone, violated and gone back to prison.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So long story short, the person who said it was okay for him to be late went on vacation, was gone 2 weeks. And in the interim,
No.
they ended up reoffended this guy. They put him back in a correctional facility. So as a result of his lawsuit, they agreed they were going to let him out if he waived the lawsuit.
Mhm.
Well, he ended up doing the rest of his time that they violated him
Mhm.
because he knew they were going to have to pay him when they got done.
Mhm.
And that's what happened. And so to me, the reason why, one of the things that reminded me of, and that brings me to today, is that we need justice reform.
Yeah.
Even if zero tolerance is not the case now, it's still the system is, we're locking people up for things that might not necessarily be good things to lock people up for.
Yep.
We're spending our taxpayer dollars on,
Yep.
things that for people that were working,
Mhm.
for people that weren't, victimizing people.
Yeah.
So now to answer your part of the question is specifically I retired in 2019, 2020. I felt as though there was a considerable number of people at the federal level for sure that were attacking the credibility and the integrity of our elections.
Mhm.
And it looked to me like they were going to try to negatively impact access to the ballot.
Mhm.
There's no truth in this vote. This voting it's corrupt because of this, whatever, mail-in ballots, any of this absentee voter stuff, any of the election integrity, whatever. So I got involved as a volunteer for voter protection.
Mhm.
Okay.
And once I saw that, and I learned a lot about it, the voter protection program is fantastic. It's amazing how, like, say, for example, even our county clerks here, they're fantastic. Our clerks and our township clerks, they're all awesome. And it doesn't matter their political affiliation. Quite frankly, we have a pretty solid group of clerks in Jackson County,
Mhm.
from the county clerk all the way down to the smallest municipality. They all are very diligent in supporting that. So I got involved because I was afraid that the most important thing to me is access to the ballot. It goes back to the civics class,
Mhm.
because if we don't have the ability to change,
Right.
to address our recourse,
Mhm.
right, to vote, then how are we going to make a difference?
Right. Because
Exactly.
it's your civic right and your civic duty.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of how I got started, was doing that. And then
Okay.
it's just kind of snowballed from there.
Dude,
For real.
that's impressive, though. We're in 2026, so 6 years you went from a volunteer helping with the ballot to the chair of the Jackson County Democratic Party.
Uh-huh.
So that's fucking
Yeah.
impressive.
Do you So what was some early challenges that you faced when you started getting involved with Jackson County civics, political, I don't know. Politics, yes, thank you.
Politics.
One of the continuing challenges is wanting to affect a change in everything and not being able to, just not, you know. I mean, you have to realize, I was just talking with somebody today about this, is that you to accept the things that you can change is true. It's I mean, that's a constant. You getting frustrated over things you can't change. So learning what we can change, and then how, and learning the best way to do that is one of the things I always challenge myself with is effective communication, because in order to make those changes, you have to be able to be listened to and heard by the people that are making the changes.
Yep.
And you know, some of those changes, they don't necessarily agree with you that need to be made, even though there might be, you know, more people that want them to do that. They're still going to continue to push back. So you have to again bridge the divide.
Yep.
Be able to get them to listen, not get them to listen to you, be able to communicate with them effectively enough that they will listen to you and hear you. And one of the big ways to do that is to do that with them.
Yeah.
Because it's reciprocal, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, conversations 2 ways.
Do you remember the moment you realized that you wanted to step into leadership within the local party?
Yeah, I do. And quite frankly, it was only because I hadn't learned to say no yet. And I still kind of haven't. That's a shout out to the person that will see this knows. Yeah, I'm still not saying no.
Man, well, so clearly we're getting to what's happening now. So I do want to talk a little bit about what you're up to now. But before we get there, you said there was other things you do. What is the NCAAP, and how did you get into it, and what is it? Because honestly, I don't know.
The
NAACP?
NAACP.
Yeah.
National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
No, I really didn't know that. Okay, so you're part of that in Jackson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a Jackson branch, and I wish I had the number off the top of my head. I'm going to get scolded because I don't have the number. Yeah, I've been involved with the Jackson branch for a few years now. Okay. Probably 3 years.
Awesome.
And it's an organization that protects human rights and civil rights across, you know.
I didn't know that.
Hold on, sorry, I got the number. I just pulled it up. 517-784-3842.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. The number, I'm talking about the branch number.
Oh,
Gotcha,
the branch
gotcha.
number is on here somewhere.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. No, I really didn't know that. I kind of feel a fool that I didn't, but that's awesome. So you've been a part of that for 3 years?
The oldest, it's the longest standing civil rights organization in the country.
Wow.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Let me do another quick look on the website. Sorry. I'm trying to find the branch number.
So we do everything from voting rights awareness to civil rights support for people in the community, to education, for all kinds of things.
Awesome.
School programs and scholarship programs for students. It's actually pretty fun.
Geez, man. So you're really a part of the community now. It sounds like. So before we get to our wrap up questions, I really do want to talk a little bit more about this. I mean, because everybody knows we see you on the Jackson County Scanner page a lot for, you know, being at City Hall. And what is your favorite part about being the chair of the Democratic Party? And like, what's your favorite part about that? Because now that we're to the politics part.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
My favorite part is I'm an organizer. I'm a collaborator. So my favorite part is to put together two people in the same room that are like-minded and watch the work that they do to bring about a common goal.
Okay.
And that's very general and very vague, but it applies to everything.
Yeah.
And so it can be something as simple as two people getting together for the first time to volunteer to deliver something to somebody that in need, or it can be something that is also as involved as two people who show up in a meeting for recruiting of candidates, and they end up developing a long-standing rapport that they actually work together to be candidates or to organize for candidates. So it's just nice to see. It's nice to put community members together and see what happens. see the good stuff that happens.
So you have talked about expanding grassroots organizing and mapping and different things like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I hope so, because that's an important thing. Because grassroots organizing it supersedes partisan politics.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and that's the kind of the way that I approach it, is that it's things that are mutually beneficial in any community can be sources and focus points for grassroots organizing. And until you get past the noise of the divide, until you stop shouting across the divide, let's talk about what's good for each other.
Right.
You know, what's because if it be able to set aside the idea that I disagree about this thing, so I don't even want to talk to you about that.
Yep.
But we both need and want that.
Yep.
So why can't we just not talk about this for now and do that?
Yep.
So grassroots organizing is important to keep it as close to home as possible. And the way that you do that, like say, for example, one of the things that we're doing quite soon is that in one of the townships, we're having a little meet and greet where we have just other people that we know are Democrats in the community. And it's not about partisan politics. It's about getting to meet people in your neighborhoods, in your community, that are like-minded.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and I'll say what it is. We're going to have an event on March 26th in Blackman Township, at 127 Brewing. And what it is just we've reached out to people that we know that are like-minded, and so we're just going to invite them to be there so they can meet other people in the community that they know.
Yeah.
And then also, so they can know them, so they don't feel alone. And that's what grassroots organizing is about, is so you don't feel alone.
Okay.
And then we're going to bring them together, and also we've invited the people that are either elected to represent them in that township or that are running for an office in that township, so that they can just to meet them to kind of improve that whole, I'm not alone in this community. I know people that are. So that's kind of what we do in grassroots organizing. This will be our first one in Blackman Township, so it'll be cool to see how we do it. And then we're going to have to probably scale that up. The plan is to do that in every township throughout Jackson County.
See, that's why I love about what we do is I love that as an idea, and it honestly wouldn't matter who's sitting across from me that's saying that. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. Wow.
So transversely to the grassroots thing, if somebody who completely disagreed with your politics sat down with you for coffee, what's the first thing that you would want them to understand about you as a person?
We can disagree about anything and everything, but we can talk about that as well. And I want you to have the confidence that you can feel comfortable speaking with me about everything and anything that you're comfortable saying at all. Right. And we can share our thoughts and opinions and views on that, and we can come to an understanding of each other. That's what I would say. I don't. To me, I don't have to agree with the words that you're saying in order to listen to them, right?
Right.
Yep.
In order to hear them.
Yep.
And as a person, why wouldn't I want to?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really how you learn.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have some kind of I have a whole bunch of questions. I've been trying to pick them out. What's one thing that could bring more people back into community engagement?
That's a good question. I wish I had an answer for that. Community engagement,
We'll say civically, just for sake of
civically is basically just continuing to talk about how it matters and why it matters. When you're in those spaces where you have someone who is you have an opportunity to share with someone something about civic engagement, take the opportunity. Say, for example, I'm at the doctor's office and I'm getting some appointment, and there's some kind of hoops they have to jump through because of the insurance processes and how the insurance companies make it their business to take our premium money and then not pay so much for the health care
Right.
that we need.
Yeah.
And so if that happens, if that occurs, and we have to jump through one of those hoops,
Mhm.
I have to make sure it's approved by your insurance company before we can do this treatment or whatever,
Yeah.
give you this medicine, then I'll make it a point to mention some legislation that's in the House right now called MI Care, which is the universal health care for Michigan. And there's a bill that's actually being, it's probably sitting in committee collecting dust right now,
Mhm.
but I know personally that there's a person that's working on that,
Awesome.
that we're working to, they're putting in the work to get this done, and I think that there's possible for that. So I digressed. So I'll be at this appointment. This hoop jumping process will come up to get the insurance company to pay for my treatment, and then I'll mention MI Cares, and then I'll give them the opportunity to maybe make a call to their local representative to encourage them to vote in favor of this or to move it there. So I use those opportunities to do something, to say something
Gotcha.
about it.
What does productive disagreement look like to you?
I love that question. Productive disagreement. It looks like, really, it does look like people communicating. I mean, I think that to be able to listen to what somebody's saying and hear it and give them the space to say it and give them, so you have to almost, so it looks to me, there almost has to be a structure that you have to agree to. If I'm going to sit down with someone that I disagree with, like when we do the bridging the gap thing, you have to actually have some kind of ground rules. That, I mean, things like if I need to tap out of this conversation because it's too heavy, I'm just going to tap out.
Like comfort agreement and how
Yes,
you
yes,
maintain
yes.
comfort in
Yeah,
a conversation.
because you can't. You're peeling layers away when you have these conversations.
Mhm.
If you have a conversation with someone over something that you significantly disagree on, but you're willing to enter in that hard space, that tough space, to have that conversation, then it's imperative that both people agree to these terms of the conversation and the protocol, so that we can mutually respect each other. But that's how constructive it would be constructive if those are tools that can make it constructive, I think. Not only, those aren't the end all be all, those are just my idea of what it looks like. So agree to that, develop the confidence in each other that we're going to be respectful and listen and hear. And then the normal stuff like positive communication techniques and active listening. Those are things that are important too.
Yes, sir.
How do you separate the human side of relationships from political disagreements?
It's real easy for me, and I'll tell you why. And it's based on my experience with the Department of Corrections. I learned early on, because I was also, as an officer, I was also the local chapter president for the union, for the officers union for a couple of years.
Wow.
And so I had to be involved in labor management and disciplinary hearings. Those were the two things that I mostly did. And I remember one time leaving a particularly difficult labor management meeting where we had to actively disagree with the warden on things. And then in the time, you got to think about this, the warden is, it's old school guys. I mean, he actually worked with my father as well.
Okay.
And there was something going on we needed to change. And we had this meeting. I'm on my way back to my assignment after the meeting, and I find myself, I make a note to myself, I'm actually changing hats as I'm walking down to my assignment. Not physically changing hats, but I'm thinking, I'm leaving this role where I'm on a first name basis with the warden in a mutually mutual status type of situation with the labor management. Now I got to go to this assignment where I'm in a housing unit where I'm responsible to supervise and make sure that everything goes all right in the housing unit with the people that are incarcerated. And so it's a shifting gear. So separating things is easy. The question was specifically, how do you separate
the human side of relationships from political disagreements?
I understand and recognize the human side of any relation or any rapport with anyone, and I value that. And I believe that if you developing that rapport and establishing that level of communication with someone makes it easier to talk about political things that even are overly personally sensitive.
Gotcha.
And so you have to, it's kind of a tightrope. You have to, I like to try to listen to what they have to say and give them space for how they feel about it. And then let's talk about the policy, like I said earlier, you know, it's okay to acknowledge how something makes you feel.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's actually important to.
Yeah.
But it's also, you don't let that cloud out your ability to be constructive and address the situation and to be able to potentially work with other people to resolve it.
Yes, sir.
What do you think a healthy democracy looks like on the local level?
The people that have their hands on the levers of control are listening to the people that they're elected to serve.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
I could have said that in about half an hour.
Yeah.
But I actually just broke that down. That's everything I would have to say in one sentence that could have possibly taken a half because I'll talk.
Man. So before we get to our wrap-up questions, I have one more question. I think Katie has a couple more, and then we'll get to our wrap-up questions. My main question is, and I feel like I don't give a lot of guests this opportunity, and I want to change that. So, you know, we go from childhood to high school to your first job. Like we cover a lot very quickly. And it's not in that amount. It's not in, you know, we don't have a crazy amount of time. I understand that. People might know Amador as the prison guard, or people might know you as the, you know, chair of the Democrats. What's one thing that you don't think people know about you that you're willing to share?
That's a good question. What's one thing that people don't know?
Because I feel like you're a pretty public figure now. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, I think that people know me, they know me. Yeah, I really think so. I'd like to think that that's the case. You know, my mind is reeling right now trying to figure out just how to answer that question, and I don't.
Well, I even feel like knowing you only for 2 or 3 occurrences, sitting down talking with you, I feel like I know you. So I mean, you give off very
Personable
good
vibes.
energy too. Yeah,
that's my dad's fault.
well, good for him.
It is. You know,
Yeah.
I've always had in my head that if it's a strategy or a construct, or it's the way I communicate with people, the way I interact with people, is to establish a dialogue and talk to people, talk with people, not talk to them, talk with them. Talk with people, establish a dialogue, develop a rapport. Okay, so that's anything from, it's a confidence that they're going to be respectful of you or whatever. That word can mean as much as anything and everything, or it can just mean that you know them. To me, it's deeper than that. It's more the understanding that I can communicate with people confidently, and they can communicate with me confidently, respectfully. We can listen and hear each other. That's a rapport. And then, so establish a dialogue, develop rapport, and then affect change or affect collaboration. Make when you work, play nice together.
Yeah.
Okay. So those principles were developed. I learned those in the correctional setting. Establish in order to do your job as a correctional employee, you have to do this. If you're in custody, establish a dialogue with the people that are incarcerated and the staff and your coworkers. Develop a rapport. It's even more, your reputation is more important there than anywhere. I mean, that's probably the most important place that I've ever had to rely on a reputation is in a correctional setting.
Understood.
So you develop rapport, and then the term is, and it sounds a little bit wrong to say. It makes me feel uncomfortable to say. Affect compliance. Because in the business of corrections, the job is to ensure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing and not doing what they're not supposed to be doing of their own choice. Okay. Not because I said, not because I'm going to make you, but because it's the best way for you to be. And so those are tricks. So those tools still work in society, in the community as well, because you still want to establish a dialogue. You want to talk with people. You still want to do all those things. The difference is that you're building that rapport for collaboration.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Okay. You got anything else?
Yep. I got one kind of fun one and one serious one. I think I'll do the
Perfect.
serious one first.
Oh yeah.
What
Rip the
advice?
scab off.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like serious. What advice would you give somebody who wants to get more involved in their community?
Do something.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
get involved. Pick a spot where
Yes.
you're passionate. Okay, I'm a huge voting rights, civil rights, healthcare, Social Security, Medicare kind of person.
Okay.
Huge on the Constitution, you know that.
Yes, sir.
And so I think that to me it's important to pick a spot where you have passion,
Mhm.
because for someone else to say where you can do your best work and get involved in the community to affect a positive change is almost like a saviorism when you come to helping people, instead of from a sovereignty based lens, so that you help people that need help in the best way they know to need the help, because they're, you know that.
Mhm.
Then it's important, and it's the best way to succeed is to give people the tools and help them. So to me, it's important to encourage people to be active in what they're passionate about. So if you're passionate about civil rights, be involved in that. If you're passionate about healthcare, be involved in that. If you're passionate about voting rights, but to me do something, because something that's going on right now is affecting you.
Yep.
And if it's not affecting you all entirely positively, then let's talk about it. Find where is the negative thing, because it doesn't matter who I voted for last election or who I'm going to vote for next election.
Mhm.
Because if there's something in the community that is if there's a resource or opportunity that's being reduced or restricted, or there's a barrier to it for anyone in the community, in me personally, I want them to be able to have the access to those opportunities. It's I hate to sound corny, but rising tides lift all ships, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I think it's important. So I talked all the way around it. Focusing on what matters to you
Mhm.
is where I think is involvement. I think it's important.
One thing you just said, one thing you just said really resonated to me is I forget exactly what you just said, but it made me think. I forget who say it, but first they came for the Jews, but it didn't affect me, and then they came for whatever, the Polish, and it didn't affect me, and then they came for me, and there was nobody left. And it's something you just said just made me
I know
think
what
of
you're
that.
talking about.
I forget who said that, but it really whatever you just said.
I can't remember who said that either, but I'm familiar with the quote.
Mhm.
And that's kind of so that's kind of where I'm talking about, where you have to find something that's you're passionate with, because there are people that are still disassociated by it's not affecting me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
Everything
you
that's
said.
going
Yeah.
on, everything that's going on all the way to today, all the way to just before I walked into this room that's happened or that is happening, there's some people that it's just not affecting. And so to me, I'm still going to be here when and if it does. And it doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter who you voted for in the last election, who you're voting for in the next election. If there's something that you finally realize is on your doorstep that needs to be changed to reduce the negative impact of it on you, I'm pretty much going to be down with it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm pretty much going to be talking, I'll lean in. And that's where the rubber hits the road, in the sense that that's where we affect the good change.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's important to be able to do that.
So first, that quote is from Martin Niemöller.
Yep.
It was right after World War II.
Yep. Thank you for looking.
He was
that
a
up.
German Lutheran
Yeah,
pastor.
no, that would have ate at me.
I needed to know.
Yeah.
I'm
If
glad you looked it
you
up too.
if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
That's a good damn question.
That is a good question. I used to think, you know what, I'm gonna say Abraham Lincoln,
Mhm.
historic figure,
Hmm.
and simply because I want to know, I want to hear his thoughts, his entire thoughts, candid in person on the Gettysburg Address, the abolition of slavery,
Mhm.
and why he felt as though it was important to bring the country back together,
Mhm.
but also why it ended up being that he still thought that people that were enslaved
Mhm.
were somehow less than.
Mhm.
He still felt he's still at least by historic accounts.
Yep.
I want to ask him that question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you still a bigot, even
Yeah.
though even though you did this to do what you wanted to bring the country back together or whatever?
Mhm.
I just want to have that conversation with him.
Mhm.
Are you a big reader? I feel like you said you were.
Yeah.
The Traveler's Gift is my favorite book ever, by my favorite author ever. But The Traveler's Gift talks about a couple things you said reminds me of it. Do something. Nicholas Chamberlain said that back in the Civil War, and you hear about it in this book. There's accounts of Abraham Lincoln in a historical setting, but it's a fiction book with nonfiction in it. It is the best. It changed my life. It got me sober.
There are
It's the
marker
best book.
historical events that then the author then
Yeah.
spins into a fictional
cool.
recounting.
It is the best book I've ever. It got me sober. I was like, this book changed my life. If I could, if anybody could ask me what's one thing that I could tell them to change their whole entire life, I would give them that book.
It is a self-help book, but not traditionally like you would
It's the best
imagine.
book I've
one.
ever read, ever. Yeah, I'm actually gonna start giving that out as a gift at the end of this. Like, seriously, it is that good. But
It's actually kind of cool.
yeah, dude,
It's
it
very
is
good.
the best book I've ever
I've never read that book.
Ever read. It talks
think I have
about
to
how
read it.
Nicholas Chamberlain do something. If you can't do anything, do something, and how this one guy pretty much made the world possible because if he didn't charge in the Civil War, then we wouldn't have been a united front. Then when Hitler would have actually took over the world, we wouldn't have been able to stop him because we weren't a united
It was
front.
like butterfly.
It
effect.
talks about the butterfly effect. It talks about
Right.
so much. It's beautiful. Awesome. Our wrap-up questions are all the same, every single guest, to kind of get the same idea. What is your definition of success?
Surviving through whatever life throws at you.
Oh, it's good.
I'm
Sorry,
listening.
go ahead. Yeah, I apologize.
Knowing that you're making a good difference, I think,
Okay.
to me, is a success.
Good idea.
You're
Sorry.
seeing things that you've done, the fruits of your labor, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like seeing, raising good kids, having great grandchildren, those kind of things are perfect.
Gotcha.
Great, I mean, fantastic, not great grandchildren.
Mhm.
Those kind of things I think are success.
Awesome. Sorry about that. Our one camera cut off, but this is perfect because Katie just saved the day without me even knowing it was possible. Sorry about that. So great definition of success. Is there anything I didn't ask that I should have? Is there anything you want to share? Now is the time to say whatever I missed.
I wish I'd even thought of that. No, I don't think so. Actually,
Awesome.
I think that
It means we did our job okay, is what I was hoping.
I
So,
believe that.
awesome.
I believe that.
Thank you. Katie?
If you now met younger you, would you get along and vice versa? Like, would you get along with him and would he get along with you now?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
How much younger?
It depends on what
Okay.
you think of immediately.
Yep.
It's all based
Yeah.
on.
So I think that younger me, I definitely would get along with.
Awesome.
Because I mean, a lot of how I am and who I am, really, I brought from when I was younger.
Awesome.
Fortunately, and some of the bad stuff I know better than to, not to be such a knucklehead all the time.
Yes, sir. I wish I could learn that sooner.
If you had, sorry.
I was gonna say just because I know how to get underneath somebody's skin doesn't mean I need to.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
If you had one word to describe your entire journey from where you started, where you are now, and where you will end up, what is the one word? Has to be a real word, can't be hyphenated.
One word to describe how I got where I am.
Yep, and where you will end up, where you are going to end up.
commitment.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Before you go, we'll ask you to sign our table over here. So we'll cut the camera for all that. We got you a gift. I thought it was kind of unique, and I knew you were a prison guard. You know, and we try not to give out like political gifts, but it's the thin gray line flag for prison guards. So I thought that was very unique. And then we put some stickers in the back. If you flip it over, I got some prisoner to painter stickers in the back.
Cool.
I stuck in there for you.
I like it.
So,
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you for coming on. Yeah. That's all I got.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you, man. Seriously.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right.